Hi, my name is Nolia Zosa. I am a small business owner and restaurant owner. My restaurant group is called Dirty Birds. We have 4 restaurants with a 5th one on the way. We employ almost 150 San Diegans. I'm also very involved in the community. I've been on 20 different boards and commissions and organizations serving our community. I got my start helping the community and back in the 90s when I worked at Bayside Community Center, working with the Vietnamese community here in Linda Vista on their housing and legal issues. And why I want to run is because I want to continue my public service and community service to the people of San Diego and specifically for the Vietnamese community, because I felt so close to the Vietnamese community growing up in Orange County and now here in San Diego.
Sure. Well, I appreciate you having me here with Viet Vote. My name is Raul Campillo and I am a San Diego native. I grew up in East County. I went to Uni High School in Linda Vista, just down the street from here. And now I'm a deputy city attorney and prosecutor at the city attorney's office. And so I handle lots of different cases, but I also focus mostly on gun violence prevention restraining orders. And so what we do with that is we work with the police to make sure that people who are really dangerous aren't capable of hurting themselves or others with their guns. I went to Harvard for my undergrad, and then I was a teacher for a few years, and then I went to Harvard Law School, and now I'm back home to serve my city. So in my view, the 3 biggest challenges facing District 7 and Linda Vista, they overlap a lot. First of all, making sure that we solve our homelessness issue. That is a problem all across San Diego County, but we're seeing it along the river. We're seeing it come up Linda Vista Road. We're seeing it in Balboa Park and on the beaches. So it's everywhere. It's not localized in one spot. And so I really want to make sure that we provide the permanent supportive housing to help homeless people get off the street and get the services they need, because we know they didn't choose to be homeless. We know that there's other factors in their lives that we really need to address so that they will no longer be homeless, whether it's job training, whether it's therapy, whether it's mental health services. We really need to provide those to people. They really deserve it. The second aspect is affordable housing. People can't generally afford a home unless they've gone deep into their careers and build up a lot of savings in San Diego, because it's so expensive to live here. It's even very expensive to buy in Linda Vista. And so what we need to make sure is that we hold developers accountable and make sure that they provide housing that is within the affordable range for people who've just graduated from college or people who have a working class job and don't have a big wage, right? And then the third thing is the roads. If you recognize the infrastructure even getting to this park, it was really run down. It's been ignored for decades. It's not just one council member who's ignored it, but many, because Linda Vista has been cut up between different council districts over the course of time, and that means that it's generally been ignored. What I want to do is make sure that Linda Vista gets the focus that it has. And one of the big reasons I care about it so much is that I went to high school just down the street at Uni High School. It's not there anymore. The Catholic Church moved it because they didn't think it was a good enough place to have a school, and now it's a bunch of luxury apartments. What we've seen is that developers look at Linda Vista and say, how can we make this a really expensive place to live rather than an affordable place to live? And I really wish that I could say that my opponent had done a lot in his role as the planning group chair for Linda Vista, but during the time he's been in that, we've actually seen poverty and homelessness and crime go up in Linda Vista, not down. And so I, as a prosecutor, really want to make sure that families are safe. It's something I work on all the time. And then on top of that, that really just connects back to the fact that to have a safe, affordable, clean, and well-run place to live, let's fix these roads.
The 3 big issues are jobs in this economy because of the shutdown. People's livelihoods have been affected. I know the Vietnamese community has been severely impacted by having to close their restaurants and the nail salons and hair salons right here in Linda Vista, especially in the shopping village right here. And it breaks my heart because I'm a fellow restaurant owner and we've been very negatively affected by the shutdown, and we've had to lay off about 100 of our employees during this time. And I know Vietnamese families have been severely impacted. The second issue is public safety, where people don't feel safe in the neighborhoods. We're right here in Kelly Street Park, where there's been about, I think, 6 shootings in the past year because of gang violence. And we definitely need to make sure that our parks are well funded and our police are well funded. At least my third issue is public safety, where people don't feel safe in their neighborhoods. And the biggest obstacle to that is the funding, where we to fund the police and to make sure we have enough police officers patrolling our neighborhoods, so people can bring their children to the parks. I'm on the City of San Diego Parks and Recreation Board, so we oversee the parks and advise the city on parks. And I want to increase more funding to these parks, but it's going to be very hard if we can't open up our restaurants and our small businesses. So I got my start in community service when I was in law school at the University of San Diego. I worked at Bayside Community Center for 4 years, helping low-income residents, and obviously Linda Vista has a big Vietnamese population, helping the Vietnamese community with their housing and legal issues, making sure they didn't get taken advantage of by unscrupulous landlords and property owners that they're not running nice apartment buildings. They were renting to low-income Vietnamese families and taking advantage of them. So my job was to make sure that they were protected. So I got my start doing that for 4 years. But ever since then, I've been on 20 different boards and commissions and organizations representing the community and the city. One of those things is I'm the parade director for the Linda Vista Multicultural Fair and Parade, where I work with a lot of the different Vietnamese organizations and making sure that they get represented and they have a voice, and show off their pride in the culture to San Diego. We have about 15,000 attendees, and I organize it every single year, and I'm so proud of that. One thing that we need to do is to make sure that we promote Vietnamese leaders and get them. The Vietnamese community are great business leaders, but we got to make them great political leaders also, and make sure that they have a voice in our government. And that starts, if I become the next city councilman, I want to make sure that we appoint leaders in the Vietnamese community to commissions and boards with the city, because that's where I got my start in leadership, is serving on these boards and commissions. So I want to continue doing that. But one thing that we're lacking also are the institutions and businesses that are so sorely needed with the Vietnamese community, and I want to accomplish that by looking at private and public grants, and like the LISC program, the Local Initiatives Support Corporation, that gives grants and help to local Vietnamese and small business and local minority-owned small businesses. So I want to increase that funding to Vietnamese businesses. So those are some of the things that I want to do. But the biggest thing is making sure that I'm always accessible to the Vietnamese community, and always, and I've been doing that. I've been working so close with the Vietnamese community for 3 decades and listening to the leaders, and I want to continue doing that because there's over 59,000 Vietnamese Americans in San Diego County, and they deserve to have a voice, because I come from the same background. I come from Southeast Asia, from the Philippines. My parents immigrated here in 1969, and we have that same background and that same love to achieve the American dream.
Sure. So let's talk about the 3 things that I see from my position as a deputy city attorney affecting the Vietnamese community. First of all, representation is really not good in the city of San Diego, in the boards and commissions, in hires for employees in the city. It's really not well representative of the Vietnamese community here. And so we need to make sure that we're getting over language barriers, getting through cultural barriers, to make sure the Vietnamese community is brought in, has a voice at the table, and that we're actually hiring people from the Vietnamese community to solve these problems. We can't just listen and then pretend to be able to fix. We actually need to bring them in and have them help us fix it through the way they think works for their community best. So there's that representation aspect. The second thing that I see from a prosecutor's role is that Vietnamese businesses are actually at a higher risk of property damage, graffiti, or vandalism, because criminals know that the police aren't going to monitor those parts of town or those businesses as well as they would other communities' businesses. And so I've actually prosecuted cases where we catch a person who's vandalized or put graffiti on a Vietnamese business, a restaurant, a grocery store, any other type of business, And so in that way, I've helped the Vietnamese community. I know for a fact, I remember a specific case. It was actually just up Linda Vista Road, where a Vietnamese man who was running a grocery store that had EBT and CalFresh only for his product was being abused by the person giving him his product to then sell to the working class community who are on low wages. And his supplier thought, oh, I can just go in there and harass him. And actually, we caught him on video punching the Vietnamese business owner, and we prosecuted that guy. And so that really revealed to me, you know, the Vietnamese community is really being overlooked for public safety, representation, all those sorts of aspects. And that's one thing specifically that I've done for a Vietnamese business, but it really reveals a broader problem that the leaders in our town aren't paying attention to these big problems. There's two things right off the bat that I would want to do as a city council member to protect the businesses and the families that have been hit by COVID-19. This is the biggest problem we have faced in 100 years, and so it really means the government has to take serious action, not just nibble around the edges. We actually have to put in place a long-term fund for renters who are this close to being homeless because they've lost their jobs during COVID, and we have to pass the moratorium on the evictions way past December 30th, right? The new council comes in on December 10th. The current council has basically said we have 20 days to come up with a new policy to deal with renters who haven't been able to pay their rent. Well, there's tens of millions of people across the country that are facing the same problem. I have no doubt that the first thing we have to do is extend that well into March, and then hope that with a new president and with a new federal government, we're going to be able to see funds come down to the city and state to help renters pay back their old rent. We're not trying to harm business owners and the landlords. What we're trying to do is make sure people don't become homeless, because if they do become homeless, COVID's going to spread even more. So housing, homelessness, COVID, all together are wrapped up, right? And then the second thing I'd say is we need to have a similar fund for small businesses that have seen their demand crash because people don't want to go out to them. A lot of these are restaurants, even grocery stores to a certain extent, smaller grocery stores. We know that they have been suffering. They've had to lay off workers. The city should have a fund for renters and a fund for small businesses. They tried that at the beginning of the pandemic in April and early May. It wasn't very big. We need to make it bigger and more substantial so that more people can rely on it, and it'll put more predictability back into the economy at the local level.
The Vietnamese community, the Vietnamese American community has been so severely impacted because especially, I was reading today that Asian Americans, that includes Vietnamese Americans, have been the worst affected by this COVID-19 shutdown, because we're the business owners. We own hotels and we own restaurants and salons, and those are the businesses that have been affected. And that's my business. I'm in the restaurant business, and it's taken a big toll. And so what we need to do is to make sure that the Vietnamese American businesses know about the different grants and the different funding available to them to help them. And I would like to connect them with organizations like the Asian Business Association and LISC, Local Initiative Support Corporation, to make sure that they know about the grants that are available to these businesses to make sure that they survive this pandemic, because our businesses are closing every single day, and we just can't have that. And though that's the local businesses, especially here in Linda Vista, where my neighborhood is, they are the backbone of our community here, and we just can't afford to lose them. But we have to look for, as a councilman, look for private and public grants to make sure that those funding is out there. We need the institute in City Heights that wants to get funded. We have to fund that. And that could be accomplished through public and private grants and hopefully some city funding. But it's important that we open up our businesses safely and get them open as soon as possible to make sure our customers and our staff are safe and protected. But we can do it both. We can have a fair and balanced approach. But it's been unfairly impacted by us as the small business owners, and we just can't continue to do that. The first thing is always making sure that we have Vietnamese leaders in government positions to make sure that they advise the city and advise me on how to proceed, and to make sure that the over 60,000 Vietnamese Americans are represented in San Diego County. That's the first thing. We need Vietnamese leaders to step up. And we've had those leaders in Orange County where I grew up. And you can see is there's quite a few Vietnamese American leaders in Orange County. We need those same type of leaders here in San Diego. And I want to help breed those leaders and getting them appointed to boards and commissions with the city. But also we need the funding that needs to be available for these, for this project, and making sure that we set aside money from the city to get this accomplished, but also to look for private and public grants across the country that can fund this thing. The biggest thing is money. We need money to fund this project, and we can get this accomplished. And I'm absolutely determined to do that, because I know the importance and the voice and the of the Vietnamese American community here in San Diego.
Yeah, I absolutely support Viet Vote's plans to push for a Vietnamese cultural center in City Heights. We know that part of San Diego is the core of the Vietnamese American community, but District 7 has about 2,650 Vietnamese Americans itself. And we know that there's family connections, cultural connections, linguistic, religious connections, and having a center over there would really bring the community from all over San Diego together. And the important thing to note is it's not just about funding. We absolutely need funding, but we have to work with Viet Vote, any other organizations as well, Little Saigon Society, and other cultural groups too, churches, and say, what do you need to be around the center that you want to build? Is it a police substation, a fire station, grocery store, near a church that has an important cultural significance to the community? It's not just about, oh, we found a piece of land and now let's build a building. It has to be integrated into the community. It's something that I learned from my father, who's been an immigration attorney for about 40 years. He's helped people from all over the world, including Vietnam, come to the United States and to San Diego. And it's really not just about individual pieces. It's about the broader fabric of the community. And we see that in all different immigrant communities, but especially the Vietnamese community. And I'm ready to serve and work with them and partner with Viet Vote to get it done.